Greetings, Banff Warriors. Greetings. Greg is here, so are you. Another life lesson from the Results Kill Excuses channel, coming to you on the other side of 13 years of sobriety, walking along my healing journey, walking away from that self-sabotaging, self-medicating, self-abandoning version of who I used to be. But I'll tell you what, even after having more than 13 years of sobriety, 13 years, it's a lot of days, it's a lot of nights, it's a lot of holidays, a lot of weekends, a lot of big games that I did not partake in the drink. And yet, here's the thing. Just because I've been sober from alcohol for 13 plus years doesn't make me perfect. Doesn't make you perfect. It's not about being perfect. But here's the thing. Hear me out. Welcome to all the new listeners, but hear me out on this message. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here, you know the drill. Stay locked in. But here's the thing. When I look back on my life, I started drinking early on, 15 years old. Or really 12 years old, but I felt like when I was in high school, 15, playing varsity ball as like a freshman, nothing but alcoholics, man. I mean, we were drinking so much alcohol. So what I'm trying to say is I formulated deep codependency with alcohol at an early age. Man, oh man, did it cause me a lot of heartache along this journey called life. And I thought way back in the day, you know, my first friend invited me, hey man, let's go drink some alcohol. I didn't know what the hell it was. And then just all the different exposures. It was the experimental phase. If you don't realize addiction, your phase one, there's 5 phases. Phase 1 is addiction. Phase 1 is experimentation. Phase 2 is regular use. Phase 3 is risky use. Phase 4 is codependency. And phase 5 is just full-blown addiction, where you just can't do life without it. And look, I'm not here to give you a lecture on whether or not you should or shouldn't use whatever chemicals that you're using. But what I am here to talk about is how I found a way to really heal my emotional trauma that goes all the way back to my childhood. I'm still not perfect, but man, oh man, have I healed my emotional trauma. I'm no longer short-fused, quick-tempered, confrontational. I can still be direct. I'm not a pushover. Ain't nobody gonna walk all over me, right? I'm still a force of nature, but I walk with so much self-awareness now that it's like I don't give my power away like how I used to. And I didn't even know I was giving my power away. Do you know that you're giving your power away? Anytime someone or something activates you emotionally from the outside. And this takes, just even comprehending what I am saying right now, absolutely takes pretty significant amount of self-awareness. Because if you ever watch the news, the nightly news, do you ever get upset by what you're hearing? Whether it's cable news, mainstream media, you ever get upset by what you're hearing? Maybe you get upset about politics. Maybe you get upset about violence. Maybe you get upset about the weather. Anybody ever get upset about the weather? Well, every time you get upset about something, even if you think it's like justified, it's not about justification. It's about when you are exposed to information on the outside of you and you have an emotional reaction to that, are you fully aware? Are you fully in control of how you're feeling? And do you understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling? That's a deep question. Think about it. When you're exposed to information on the outside of you, are you fully aware of how it is changing how you're feeling about yourself, about the world, about someone else? And is that something that you understand about yourself? I can tell you that when I was still in my broken phases of life, heavily still codependent with alcohol and partying, and even really the major emotional healings happened in about the past 5 years. And I said, I've been on a 13-year healing journey of sobriety. But because the past 5 years has been the major shifts in healing the emotional wounds, that's how long it took me to get to the root, to get so present with myself that I started to really know myself. And I had a curiosity about figuring myself out. We've always said like, oh, you're pushing my buttons, or that's what we used to say back in the day. Someone's pushing your buttons. And it's like, what buttons are they pushing? But every time someone pushes your button and you have a negative emotional reaction to said buttons being pushed, triggers being pulled, you give away your power. And I knew that that's something I didn't want to have happen anymore. And because of the healing and the clarity in my mind and my curiosity for figuring myself out, it wasn't about self-control. See, that's where a lot of people go. And that's what a lot of, if you're anything like me, I've been told before I started to heal myself emotionally, really figure myself out, I used to have a lot of people tell me, you need to get control of yourself. You need to have emotional control. Well, think about it. Controlling something is very tiring. And I can tell you, and I talk about this all the time here, is that 99% of the time, that self-control is great. But that 1%, that little tiny bit where I lost control, where I erupted, someone pushed the button and kept it pressed for too long, that the meter went overboard. That one time, those are the deepest impressions on my life in terms of regrettable moments. And so self-control will get you mostly there. But I knew that it wasn't the goal that I had set out for. And so when I hit my rock bottom, that's what got me really turning my life around, changing directions, right? I was going down and I drank my way to the bottom. Boom, crash and burn, right? And part of me wanted to stay down there. Part of me never wanted to get up. I definitely felt like giving up. But instead, sometimes it's in those crisis moments that still quiet voice comes over and it says, hey, are you ready to get up? Psst. Hey, are you ready to start changing some things? Hey, is now a good time for you to give up the drink, give up these self-sabotaging patterns? Do you think maybe now is the time for you to start turning your life around? And I heard it. I heard that voice. And I was grateful it was there. Because there was definitely another voice in my head that was saying, fucking, you're a piece of shit. You're done. Look at what you've done. You'll never get over doing this now. This is gonna scar you for the rest of your life. You're screwed. Your life is over. Your life is over now. Now what are you gonna do? You might as well just hit Control-Alt-Delete. That voice was there too. And I can guarantee you, yes, guarantee you, listening, you have those same voices in your head too. One of them is a voice of criticism, of doubt, of guilt, of shame. Doesn't seem to forget anything bad that you've ever done. That's your lower self. And I guess it serves a purpose, right? It's a weird way of serving a purpose of keeping you in survival mode. Just enough, not thriving. I want you to be thriving mode. I believe you're capable of thriving through life, not just surviving. But that little still quiet voice is your higher self. And it's always there. And see, the thing is there's something that's been said, where focus goes, energy flows. And so if you're somebody that's hypercritical towards yourself, all that tells you is that you're putting a lot of emphasis on the past. You're probably pretty depressed. And no, this is not medical advice. I'm a healer, not a professional medical person if you're new here. Although I do have some professional medical, military background. But most of what I've experienced has been through my own trial and errors. Because when I hit that rock bottom, the thing that I wanted more than anything else was I wanted to feel like I could trust myself again. I didn't trust myself. I had relinquished my power. And that came up earlier in this message, right? We're talking about how even when you're just, look, this could be the most simplest things. If you're a big sports fanatic, which I used to be, used to means not anymore. I still check out scores, but I can't watch a game. That's a story for another time. The thing is, though, if you are a sports fanatic, I've been noticing it just today. There's a trade was made from a real popular team. And there's a lot of people that are big fans of this team, and they're big critics of the ownership and the decisions, and they're having meltdowns. Whining, crying. And think about it. That's just it's a delusion. Because when I was a fanatic, I thought I owned the team. My team, my this, my that, yelling at professional athletes, yelling at ownership, yelling at bad plays, bad play calling, yelling when things weren't going right. But I was also cheering when things were going good. Living and dying. And yet, that also is a sign that you lack emotional intelligence, emotional regulation. and really self-awareness. Because something outside of you is getting a ruse out of you. You're getting down, or you're getting happy, yay, but it's outside of you. Versus you just waking up, or even now, at like the end of a night, I'm out here spending some time out in nature. Who's benefiting most from this? Me. My being, my energy, my body is what's gaining the most from me walking up, a nice size hill. It's a beautiful evening, but I'm even getting dual points right now because I'm sharing a message with the world about some really uncomfortable but yet very important information about turning our lives around. And if any of this message resonates with you, I need you to know I care about you. You have found a really safe place to be seen, to be heard, to share your story. And, most of the community here are pretty encouraging people. We don't got trolls. We don't have a lot of people just talking shit. But I get it. There are some people that will catch parts of my message and, make fun of this or laugh about that or whatever the hell, And even that, from my perspective, is kind of a cry for help. So many of us don't have the mastery of communication to even be able to express that, wow, whatever he's saying it's kind of making me uncomfortable. So I might as well tease him about his hair, or say something about whatever. It's the most weirdest shit. But I always interpret it as people just crying out for help. But here's the thing, if you can learn to just communicate and say, raise your hand and just say, man, I need some help. When I hit my rock bottom, I knew I was done with the alcohol because we had a lot of back and forths, and I was done. I'm like, I can't do this no more. This it. If I ever go back, if I ever go back, because I realize that with alcohol, I lose control. I lose my power. And because of that, I know how dangerous I am as a man that has a thirst for the drink. I'm a dangerous guy. Like I'm a good dangerous guy now as a protector. But I mean, I'm a really dangerous guy to society in terms of irresponsibility, being a drinker and a driver, being a belligerent SOB. And I knew that I couldn't do that no more. I needed to rebuild my sense of self in that pit. And it happened the moment I got up. I said, I'm going. I'm leaving you here, alcohol. I chose to do this with you, but I am choosing no more. And what I know is probably hardest for most people, and a lot of people ask me, hey, did you do AA or whatever? It's like, I didn't really need that. I had what's called a spontaneous sobriety. I just knew I was done. I didn't need someone to pat me on the back, and I didn't need to stand there, even though I used to go to the meetings. Voluntary, I would go. I like getting the little chips. I felt like it was a little bit of accountability, but it wasn't authentic. I'll be honest about that. I felt like I got accountability to just show that I have a little coin and time has passed, because it's important. Time is really important. I'm helping someone right now with getting sobriety, and it's one day at a time, but the biggest time frame coming off of, a crisis to where you've had an intervention and you're gaining some sobriety, 90 days. 90 days there's something about 90 days. And they say within 90 days that I want to say 60% of people relapse. That's why it's so important. And in the first year, I think it's like 40 something. So 90 days is really important. And so the reason why a lot of people struggle with sobriety is, one, because a lot of times it comes out of crisis. So we're forced to do it. Some kind of intervention. Could it be jail time? Could it be, getting sent to a recovery center where, you have no access to use. But then once you go back out into life, now it's like, okay, time to be a big boy and a big girl and show us that you really mean business. And then guess what? There's forces at play out there that don't want you to break free, right? Misery loves company, and that bitch don't like being alone. So she is going to call upon you and give you the tempt, right? It's going to come through something subtle. You're going to go to a birthday party or get invited to a night out with social friends, and you have this pattern and this habit of always saying yes, and hopefully you'll find the courage and the strength to say no if you're ready to start doubling down and betting on yourself. But it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of strength, and a lot of people try and white knuckle sobriety. And someone commented yesterday about, not being happy with the circumstances and the chemical dependency, but also knowing that the trauma, the pain, and for a lot of us, we don't know how to communicate our pain. We don't have the words, because part of trauma is it's suppressed emotions. You're not allowed to feel safe, to feel the way you felt. And I'm here to try and help those of you that are really tuning into this content and this message at Results Kill Excuses, that there is a way for you to heal. And it's sort of like, as you move away from the chemical dependency, are you going to be perfect? Probably not. But if you start to replace your habit of chemical dependency with, I would say, physical activity, any kind. If I was to be back there day one and saying, okay, and if I wasn't a spontaneous sobriety, if it was just like, okay, I had a life upheaval, but I was still having cravings, right? My thing is I would try and switch to some kind of physical activity to really start getting those natural endorphins going, and hopefully lessening the craving and the need for the alcohol. But that alone isn't going to do it. The other piece where you can have success, and I don't hear a lot of people in recovery and sobriety community talking about this, because I feel like it's kind of new, is you gotta heal your trauma. You gotta really start sitting in and re-experiencing the trauma and doing the life review. And that's a big part of what I coach and guide people through here at Results Kill Excuses, specifically through the 1% Better Everyday Journal. Or if you just type in those 3 magic words, Results Kill Excuses, into your app store, I'm not playing around. This is an absolutely 100% free resource for you, but you got to mean business. And you download the app, it's free. You sign up. There you're going to get access to 5 courses that are each over a week long. And one of the best courses that I recommend is called Breaking Up with My Addictions. It's 5 days long. What you do is you can print out the worksheets, or you could order a workbook, and that'll give you all the worksheets for all 5 of the first 5 self-discovery courses on the Results Kill Excuses app. But if you don't want to purchase nothing, but if you can print out the worksheets, you can watch the videos. It's literally taught by me, step by step, guiding you, teaching you on getting through some tough stuff. And so I'm here for a lot of reasons. And one of the biggest reasons was when I hit that rock bottom and I was sitting down there. My whole life had the tower moment had happened, right? The shit had absolutely hit the fan. It was flinging all over the place. And it was a lot of shit. In that moment, I just didn't give up. I got up. I dusted off and I got going. And I didn't know how long it was going to take. I didn't know really what or how. I didn't know what was going to be able to be the thing that truly helped me, or how I was going to get to a place where I could trust myself again. And it's been a hell of a journey. And I can tell you that what I teach and what I've experienced isn't just one-dimensional. It's not about just getting in shape. It's not about just giving up your vices. For me, total health is what I teach here. It's what I live. And total health, to me, is mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, and ultimately it leads to even having financial health. Because once you clear your mind, and once you start really feeling your feelings, which is the emotional healing stuff, you'll start tapping into some spirituality, not religious, but just understanding your place in this universe, your true story about your existence. And you'll also start to improve your self-care, taking care of yourself. And as you start taking care of yourself, you'll start really, because you're not just doing emotional eating, right? You actually start to give a shit about yourself. That's why you're no longer willing to just poison yourself with alcohol or, different substances. I mean, it all starts to kind of work together in harmony. The mind gets clear, the emotions are being felt, not suppressed. And you're starting to develop some spiritual practices, some mindfulness, some meditation, some prayer, some breath work, connecting with this beautiful universe, connecting with your divine life source energy within you, the soul. But then you start, taking better care of yourself, maybe start learning some new things about nutrition, start exercising more, really taking care of this beautiful body that we've been given. And then as you start doing that, you start really, instead of wasting time watching other people and bars and clubs and bullshit, right? You start saying, I'm gonna go take some classes. I'm gonna go learn about some new things, and I'm gonna go volunteer. I'm gonna go try this thing or that thing, and I'm gonna start picking up one of my creative gifts that's been hidden, or something I haven't done for years. And then you start tapping into that, and who knows what happens then, right? And that's where, you can really start to improve your money health, your financial health, and starting to really operate from a place of truth and authenticity and sharing. As you start to identify and master the gifts and the talents and the creativity inside of you, you start to share it with the world. And when you're sharing something from a very pure, authentic place, people see it. They see the spark in you. Versus you just doing things to do things to make money. That's no fun, right? Most of us are not having fun right now when it comes to our jobs, when it comes to work, right? They say, I think it's 81% of people are unhappy. That means that we're both, to some degree, a part of that, just by odds. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can start making massive life changes. And it starts by making some really big decisions and sticking and seeing it through, sticking with it and seeing it through. And yes, it's going to take a lot of courage. And yes, it's going to challenge you, because you have to break old patterns and old behaviors and old ways of doing things in order to start becoming and doing the things that truly give you life. And I'm here to cheer with you all along that journey. So I appreciate you for sticking around if you made it this far. If you haven't yet, download the Results Kill Excuses app. If you're interested in learning about journaling and really starting to hold yourself accountable daily, on a daily basis, give the 1% Better Everyday Journal in the link down below. Just give it a look. It may be something that changes your life. I know that many, many people have joined the 1% Better Everyday journey. And that's what helps us to not get so overwhelmed. It's 1% better, little by little, each and every day, making some tiny changes about yourself, being open to making changes, being open to making some improvements in your life, knowing that it's not going to just be a total overhaul in the next 24 hours, but it could be something very drastic right here, right now, where you make an absolute decision that you're not going to let it come to a place where you have to have a crisis for you to change your ways. Do it peacefully and do it now. I love you. You know the drill. Results kill excuses, because if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. Greg's out.